now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. So we must use all the levers we have at our disposal, knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play.
Now is the time to think what history would say about this crisis. And now is the time for all of us to define our own role. What is it that would make it so that history would look at this crisis as the great opportunity for reset?
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. It is imperative that we reimagine, rebuild, redesign, reinvigorate and rebalance our world. Rebalancing investment, harnessing science and technology, and advancing the transition to net zero emissions, all elements of the Great Reset, are fundamental to building the future we need.
The world's problems fit on three sides of a triangle. It's one versus many, man versus nature, and the unfortunate foundation is long-term versus short-term.
We had already income inequality that was fueling income, race, gender inequality. We have a climate emergency, which we can't walk away from. There's no doubt that the very survival of the human race requires us to act.
Any recovery stimulus should have green conditions attached to it. Energy prices should reflect real costs.
You need private sector capital, private sector ingenuity, private sector technology, and private sector capabilities to come to the party. You need enormous trust between the private sector and the public sector for this to actually work.
We have to change our economy dramatically in the next 20 or 30 years, and the next 10 years is absolutely decisive.
The recovery has to be greener than any of the previous recoveries. And in order to do that, we need to ensure that the stimulus package, including fiscal and monetary, are much greener than they were before. So we cannot waste this opportunity to ensure that the very precious money that's raised from the next generation is spent on green and low carbon.
We will now start a quite high number of task forces to look at all the different issues, and we will present all those ideas to the people assembled in Davos. But at the same time, we will make Davos very different, very open, to ensure that we do not fall back to old recipes, but that we really look at forward-oriented solutions.
Young entrepreneurs, especially from developing countries that are there and can see the right problem, can really step up and create solutions.
Finding profitable solutions to problems of the people and the planet, and we're starting to see firms move to that, and we're seeing firms that behave responsibly in that way actually doing better on conventional measures of profitability and doing better in this particular period.
We've also seen social entrepreneurs step in incredible ways. Not only has it exposed the precarious reality, but then it has also exposed the opportunity to recenter the reset around the most vulnerable and those on the edge, where it only takes something like a pandemic or difficult circumstances to slide into poverty.
And then we need to couple that with new initiatives to equip more people with the digital skills they'll need, not just to have a tech job, but a job that is increasingly tech-enabled in almost every part of the economy. If we can empower consumers with all of this, I think we unleash this next generation to have a much broader impact more quickly.
We can never again allow our health, education, care systems to be underfunded.
We need our imagination here. Possible is being redefined each and every day right now. So the next time someone tells us that tackling climate change is either too costly or too difficult, I think we need to remind them and remind ourselves of what just is happening right now.
We not only have to demand change, but also create change.
We have to live up to the expectations which we have created, and we will do so.
All right, welcome to TylerBloyer.com live stream here on this Sunday, August 23rd. That was a nice introduction there. Just getting a taste for what the World Economic Forum sees as the great economic reset, the great reset that they've been planning and fomenting and guiding us to. What they need is a great reset, right? What they've been writing about and talking about for years. And that's a video produced by the World Economic Forum. I had a little underscore to that to make it a little bit more exciting. But yeah, that's not like footage that other people have put together. You know, that's what they're going to create, like they said at the end there. That's not just something that they're going to help us through, but actually are working to create right now, and we're going through that. So there's a couple of other things that we need to talk about today, and one would be this is just an update video going through some things, including what we spoke about there, as we'll kind of come to some solutions through this video, what could be done, and also talking about some new things that have come out recently, including the Pandemic 2 documentary, and some other things. So again, welcome to the TylerBloyer.com live stream. I here am producing, editing, publishing, creating this content all by myself. So we're trying to get through any of the technical hurdles that could come up. I do have a community of people of which I've put out an invite to see if they'd like to jump in and join me here. It was a last minute invite though, so I have plenty that I'd like to cover myself. Now, I'd like to get into just another clip here, and this is from the pandemic video. Let me just share my screen really quick. Alright, so we have that screen up, and let me pull this page up here. You can watch the Pandemic 2 indoctrination video here at ISE Media, and this is going to be in my show notes to this episode. And here's that video, or here's the main site that Ben Swan launched for hosting media. His new site, Ben from Reality Check or Truth in Media. Some people might know or recognize him. He was heavily censored back on CBS when he covered some stories that WikiLeaks, and it had to do with like Domino's and Papa John's type products, if you remember what I was talking about. So I'll put that in the show notes, and then you can watch that documentary here. It's also on BitChute, I found, and it looks like there's even maybe some ways to download that. I think it works pretty well through your standard downloaders, like 4K video downloader, which might take a minute to open here. There's other ways to download these videos, but you can grab it off of BitChute pretty easily just by copying the link. And you know, this is a free trial of this 4K video downloader, and I can paste that link in there, and it'll give me an option to download that. I can then put it anywhere I want and watch it wherever I want without having to worry about that disappearing off the web as it has in many other places. So what I want to do is just get into a clip here of that documentary. Let me go back to this screen and hit play, and we're just going to listen to a little bit of this section here. This is an important part.
Somebody must have told these other people that they have to say it's a great piece of science.
You were quoted as saying it was a meticulous job done professionally.
It could be done by somebody very expert in molecular biology, I think.
Et c'est pas naturel, c'est ce que vous voulez dire?
Non, ce n'est pas naturel, c'était un travail de professionnel, un travail de biologiste moléculaire. C'est un travail très minutieux, on peut dire d'horloger, on peut dire au niveau des séquences.
Mais dans quel but?
Dans quel but, ça, ce n'est pas clair. Moi, j'expose, si vous voulez, mon travail, c'est d'exposer les faits, c'est tout.
See, the problem with all of this is the evidence is right in front of our face. And when confronted with evidence, we are told fact checkers are somehow transcendent.
The pace of our modern world makes it nearly impossible for working people to research the events and policies that shape their lives. When seeking answers to life's most pressing questions, where do we go first? Google. Enter the subject, hit go, and there it is. Only what they want us to see. In today's culture of copy and paste journalism, it's common for hundreds of unrelated outlets to feature the exact same report. This is not the result of laziness. This is by design. When we see identical headlines across seemingly unrelated platforms, the logical mind concludes, well then, it must be true. The illusion that numerous news sources have arrived at the same conclusion gives us confidence to share the chosen narrative. And just like that, we become the unwitting pushers of propaganda. Search engines are the holy grail for those seeking to control the narrative.
Google is already more powerful in terms of its control over people's lives than almost every government on the planet.
As the most influential search engine in the world, through its ubiquitous reach, Google has more power to influence U.S. elections than any foreign nation.
You testified before this committee. You said in subsequent elections, Google and Facebook and Twitter and big text manipulation could manipulate as many as 15 million votes in a subsequent election?
And the methods that they're using are invisible. They're subliminal. They're more powerful than most any effects I've ever seen in the behavioral sciences, and I've been in the behavioral sciences for almost 40 years.
The blacklists is something that Google said didn't exist, and they testified that under oath.
And nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Now, me as an engineer, I just did a search on Google's internal search engine, and guess what I found? It had blacklisted search terms like cancer cures. Why is Google deciding what people can and cannot search for?
What was once an efficient tool for navigating the world of information is now a network for global surveillance, data collection, and social engineering. Now let's take a look at a few of the most commonly used fact checkers, beginning with Snopes. The husband and wife duo of David and Barbara Mickelson founded Snopes.com in 1995. They had no journalism background or training whatsoever. They built their fact-checking empire by using Google as their primary verifying source. The Mickelsons divorced in 2015. Barbara sued David for embezzling money that he allegedly spent on prostitutes, as well as a lavish honeymoon with his new wife, who worked as an escort in Las Vegas before joining the Snopes cast of characters. In 2017, David Mickelson's new business partners filed a lawsuit accusing Mickelson of multiple counts of fraud and embezzlement. Snopes proclaimed to be the internet's go-to source for discerning what is true and what is total nonsense. Yet one glance at their history of fact-free checking tells another story. When Dr. Mikovits claimed she was arrested without a warrant and jailed without a charge, Snopes rated her statement false. Had they bothered to explore the arrest documents, they would have seen that indeed there was neither a warrant nor signatures to officiate a charge, a fact that I confirmed with members of Dr. Mikovits' legal team.
Was there a search warrant?
No.
And was she ever charged?
No. Never charged with a crime.
100% correct. Judy has never been charged with any crime.
Facebook's fact-checking arm, PolitiFact, is owned by the Poynter Institute, which has received substantial funding from big pharma allies such as Google and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Like Snopes, PolitiFact has a history of misleading the public. In late January of 2019, PolitiFact, Snopes, and FactCheck.org raced to squash the notion that coronavirus and its treatments were patented. They reviewed only 3 of the 4,452 publicly available patents, which unmistakably show that SARS coronavirus detection and treatment have been widely patented by both the public and private sectors.
Facebook's founder pledged to the WHO, saying they would remove false claims and block exploitative ads.
They're working with the World Health Organization and with the NHS, so they have a hotline, if you like, from those official sources.
Wikipedia is the go-to destination for introductions to people, places, and things. On Alexa calls on this digital encyclopedia.
Alexa,
Who is Dr. Judy Mikovits?
This documentary here, actually, I just realized I was on mute. And so now you actually get to see a little bit of how the actual information is disseminated, out into the public. It's not something where the Google search engine is showing you everything that you're searching for, or that you can go and simply do a fact check online and see, the truth about some matter. That documentary does a very good job at showing how the search engines are actually block engines, and they're actually hiding from you the truth about certain things, especially when it comes to things like your health or vaccinations, or the World Economic Forum ties into, Bill Gates or things like that. And you go and look, and the fact checkers have decided already on this one. Sorry. I have another example of that here I can pull up, where I posted a while back on Facebook Corbett Reports videos, and they came behind that with a nice little tag that says, "Oh, we're sorry, this is false information. This post repeats information about COVID-19 that independent fact checkers say is false." Oh, wow. Oh, I'm so glad that the independent fact checkers have stepped in. I mean, they hold all the keys to all the knowledge, right? And so there's things that they've sent me on this too, like, hey, you're sharing false information online. I think there was another one that I shared. Maybe it was the pandemic documentary itself shortly before that. I don't recall. But yeah, it's like, oh, well, I'm glad that I can count on these independent fact checkers to tell me what the truth is about the matter, right? Because we're only supposed to trust the trusted sources, right? But as you can see from I think the last walk and talk I did, and maybe I could even pull up that video here, they don't have all the information. They don't have all the facts. They don't have all the studies on, let's say, in vaccines in particular, to show that they're even safe and effective. So when it says that we're supposed to only trust the independent fact checkers, or that somehow they have the information, I just wonder, like, which fact checkers, which independent fact checkers can I trust, and like where can I go to this one central source of authority that has all the facts? Because I'm confused. I'm just sharing things that I'm independently researching on my own. I thought, that I had a pretty good way of discerning fact from fiction, or at least being able to explore with my own mind either way. Like, even if I am exploring something that is unfactual, am I not allowed to explore that? Is that basically what Facebook and Google and the other tech gods are telling us? Is that, we're not allowed to share a movie like Plandemic Indoctrination on YouTube or Facebook. I can't even find it on my page. They must have just removed it because the independent fact checkers have spoken, and this is not the truth that they've decided upon as being the truth, right? Let's see. Let me pull this up here. Let's just go through a little bit of this video and see, like, if these are the fact checkers that we can trust, right? So hold on. I'm doing this live. I didn't plan to share this video, but let's do another screen share here. We'll go down to this one. Pull this in. Let's just do this. Alright, here you go.
There's a lot of safety science that's needed, and without the good science, we can't have good communication. There's a lot of safety science. Although I'm talking about all these other contextual issues and communication issues, it absolutely needs the science as the backbone. So you can't although I'm talking about all these other contextual issues to make it sound better, if you don't have the science that's relevant to the new problem. So we need much more investment in safety science to make it sound better if you don't have the science that's relevant to the new problem. So we need much more
systems in many countries, and this adds to the miscommunication and the misapprehensions, because we're not able to give clear-cut answers when people ask questions about the deaths that have occurred due to particular vaccine, and this always gets blown up in the media. One should be able to give a very factual account of what exactly has happened and what the cause of deaths are. But in most cases, there's some obfuscation at that level, and therefore there's less and less trust then in the system.
Every time that there is an association, be it temporal or not temporal, the first accusation is it is the adjuvant. And yet, without adjuvants, we are not going to have the next generation of vaccines. And many of the vaccines that we do have, ranging from tetanus through to HPV, require adjuvants in order for them to work. So the challenge that we have in front of us is, how do we build confidence in this? And the confidence, first of all, comes from the regulatory agencies. I look to Marianne. When we add an adjuvant, it's because it is essential. We do not add adjuvants to vaccines because but when we add them, it adds to the complexity. And I give courses every year on how do you develop vaccines, how do you make vaccines. And the first lesson is, while you're making your vaccine, if you can avoid using an adjuvant, please do so. Lesson 2 is, if you're going to use an adjuvant, use one that
having
has
an
a
issue
history
finding
of
out
safety.
where this audio is coming
lesson
from.
3
So
is,
this is
if you're not going to do
the
that,
essence of doing
think
it live.
very
Give me a sec here.
It seems to me that adjuvants multiply the immunogenicity of the antigens that they are added to, and that is their intention. It seems to me they multiply the reactogenicity in many instances.
Right. Somehow that got opened in Brave. I'm sorry about that. So anyway, just going back to the fact that the point is that the research hasn't been done, and we need to be able to have access to documentaries like Plandemic 2 or Indoctrination. I forget what the title is exactly. And we need to be able to independently verify the facts for ourselves, without having central authoritative figures tell us what the truth is. I mean, this is becoming very dangerous for people to put that much faith into known liars, into people that are knowingly and willingly lying to us, such as the media or these fact checkers or the scientific community, quote unquote, with scientific consensus, right? And if that's not a fallacy just within itself. But anyway, so those are some new things that you can check out that have come out recently. If you weren't aware, those can be put on your radar. Switching gears a little bit, I have another clip I'd like to share. And this one was from a recent interview with Richard Grove from the Free Man Beyond the Wall podcast. And I was lucky enough to be able to have edited and done the post-production on this video. And he just released this the other day on his Tragedy and Hope YouTube channel. Now, if you haven't gone over and subscribed, we're just going to do a share of that really quick. You can find that YouTube channel right here. This is Richard Grove of Tragedy and Hope and Autonomy. And the video clip that we're going to be playing here, you can find in the show notes when this video gets published on my website tomorrow, or you can find it right here. This is the clip that we're going to be sharing. So let's go into that, and then we'll do a little discussion about it.
We do have some power if we take action, if we plan it out, if we do some research, if we work with some other cool people. We do have power. We do have potential, right? The big trick is they make everyone think that they're broken. Everyone thinks that, oh, it must be me. Maybe I need this pill. Like, we live in a society that either makes you frustrated or aggressive. Frustrated, we got a pill. Aggressive, we got a cage. Like the frustration aggression complex, they've known about that. The Yale Institute of Human Relations in 1938, they're like, we have this insight into what drives people's behavior. Shall we liberate them with it? No, let's fucking enslave them with it, man. Let's make their whole society like frustrating and aggressive. Because you know what? That's what results if somebody blocks you from getting to your goals. So if they say, we'll change the education system so you get schooling, so you can never get to your goals, therefore you will be likely frustrated or aggressive or maybe anxious. They got a pill for that too, right? So the entire infrastructure of our society is built like in a funnel, and it's like fear and pain. And unless you're willing to go through here or through here, you're going to end up here in the cattle car where they want you, right? They have built like a cattle chute. And unless you break out through the side, you're going where they want you to go. They are writing your script for you, your family, your friends right now. They're writing it. They're putting it in front of you. They're like, here's your future. This is going to be your future. It's the new normal, which is just the new world order. That's all it is. Everything they're doing right now is what they've planned for the past 120 years on paper. That could be read in a summer by anybody. It doesn't take you 5 or 6 years to learn what's going on. It's like you need to read some books and some documents, but they have to be the right books and documents that actually connect you into the substance and meaning of the signal that's going on, and not all the noise that they want you to think is the reality, because that's not how it works.
Oh man. I just realized I was muted some of that time, so I apologize for that. We're just gonna come back. That's the thing about doing it live, folks, is yeah, that's funny. I'm listening to me catching up there. That's doing it live, right? We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. We don't need somebody to help me unmute. We don't need a co-producer. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that sucks. Anyway, like I said, getting back into the saddle of doing it live. That's how it goes. Sometimes you forget to unmute. But that clip from Richard Grove, very powerful clip. That episode is going to be in the show notes, and you can go peruse that particular episode for all the resources available therein. There's lots of good things to discover about what's going on in our current world, and like I said, with the theme of that original World Economic Forum and then the pandemic to film, all these things being in the show notes, and then kind of following up with that interview from Richard Grove, it's a good kind of different perspective on, the current modern events, if those are some things that are not on your radar. All right, so that being said, there's some other things going on in the TylerBloyer.com realm, and we're going to cover a couple of those things now. So, first of all, you can watch the show on the TylerBloyer.com/live site, and you can hop into the Discord server there. This show is streaming live into the Discord, and when I checked that, that's how I realized that I was still muted. And you can see us here streaming, and then you can also go to somewhere along here there'll be a pop-up for you to enter your email address, but you can enter your email address to stay up to date with the things that I have going on, and I'll put out emails every now and then. Nothing too crazy, so don't worry, I don't send spam out. And there's also the University of Reason, something I've been working on for the last year with Autonomy, and Autonomy Season 2 is where I started. They're now up to Autonomy Season 4, and this is just a little look about some of the courses and things that Autonomy has to offer. And I brought this up because there's the Holistic Self-Assessment course from Derek Brose of The Conscious Resistance, and if you're familiar with his work, you're probably familiar with the Holistic Self-Assessment. And with the Holistic Self-Assessment, there's actually a free PDF download on his site where you can download that and get a look through that book, that PDF, and it's really powerful stuff. It's like taking a step back and taking a look in and starting to really ask, if you're in alignment with your principles, and becoming self-aware, principles, goals, habits, the holistic view, relationships, getting to the root, exercise for healing, action plan, and track your progress. That's like a workbook that you can actually work through. There's actually sections to take notes in it. But anyway, Derek has presented his course to Autonomy, and then that course, I believe, will be available to the followers and subscribers of the Conscious Resistance Network. And you can find out more about that by following Derek and his work. I just wanted to put that on your radar, that that's available exclusively now to Autonomy students and graduates, so that's really exciting. As well as Parrhesia, The Art of Communication by Benny Wills, which is also another course, and some of you might be familiar with Benny and his work. Benny from BennyWills.com. He was an actor, sort of a comedian. Actually, Autonomy Unlimited is working on his site right now, so we'll have to come back to that, but he's doing the same thing, introducing a course which he will then be able to offer to the public once that course is ready for prime time. So with that being said, you can find out more about these things by following up with Autonomy. The links in the resources below of this episode will lead you to the 19 skills document, which will start to get you an idea for what Autonomy has to offer and some of these other things therein that you can find out about, as well as a link to get on a Calendly with me if you'd like to have a meeting and discuss any of these things that I've talked about in this episode so far. Besides that, the next thing I wanted to cover today was, let's go back here. Mark Passio's course, How to Become the True Media. This course is something that I think we're on week 8 coming up, and in week 8 we're getting really far along at this point in depth into what Mark is attempting to do, like in I think it's like 21 or 22 week course of teaching everyone the basics, up to intermediate and somewhat advanced levels of the publishing process, really, like all the way down to like how to manage the computer components on your computer, like how to properly purchase and spec out a hard drive, how to back up your content, how to structure the file system, how to set up all the settings properly. And this has been a fun course. I'm somewhat helping to produce. I'm co-hosting, or shadow hosting as we call it in Autonomy, with Mark. And on Tuesday nights, the class is full. They're not accepting any new entry into the course. I just wanted to kind of talk about this as an update of something that I've been doing. Anybody that's in the True Media course that would like to maybe come on tylerbloyer.com live stream and do it with me, we can start to put some of those skills to work. And, you know, I was thinking maybe how to become the True Media Season 1 podcast with some of the guys in the class. Maybe have a channel or something like that where we start to post some episodes that we create, practicing our skills on live streaming or podcasting or pre-recorded. And so if you're watching this and you're in the How to Become the True Media class, you know, reach out to me. Let's discuss that idea. I think it's a pretty good idea. As I said, the Autonomy Season 4 course is about to get started, and Autonomy is somewhere between 12 and 15 weeks, and so there's still plenty of time to get in. In fact, there's never any real closing time to Autonomy, and there's lots of fun and exciting things happening, as I covered just a couple of those today with Benny Wills' new course and Derek Brose's new course. There's so many other things to cover that, again, you know, if you'd be interested in having access to those things, or learning more about what autonomy is from Richard Grove, or how to become the True Media, and these types of things, just follow up with me to get on my Calendly link in the show notes, or you can download the 19 skills document, which will be posted on my website with this as well. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the skills that I've been able to develop further, and some of the things that I'll be talking about in the future, have definitely been because of my experience and getting with Autonomy, and, you know, the journey that I've taken since joining the course has been one where I can't even explain and describe the value that I've gotten out of being with the Autonomy course and going through and participating to the level that I have. Has truly been tremendous. And so I'm just going to share a little clip here from Benny Wills and a montage that Lawrence Driggs put together. He's on the media production team in Autonomy Unlimited, and this provides a little insight to what the course looks like and what you could expect going into the course.
Who's going to be first off the mute this morning?
I'm glad that I have this course now more than ever. Having a community of people to discuss how to be empowered and autonomous is really necessary and also therapeutic. I'm this much scared about the virus and a lot scared of what's coming down the pipe as a result.
All right, so first off, we're going to get you away from that fear and that stress that I'm sensing. And I want to get you into the practicality of exercising the conversations you're going to need to have.
Have you found that your skills aren't matching up with the challenges ahead? Here are 19 essential skills for success that school never taught you. Get your free copy by following the link below, or visit getautonomy.info/19skills.
All right, so there you go. That's just a little preview of what it's like to be in the course of Autonomy, and a great video there that Lawrence put together, and something that I really think he did a great job of, and it really showed what's possible with just working and practicing on a skill set and bringing them together with the editor there had some previous audio editing skills. He was able to work on those and get to the point where something like that was possible. And that's the kind of stuff that personally in the team that I'm on in Autonomy Unlimited, which is the marketing front end or back end, I guess, of Autonomy, the course. And in Autonomy Unlimited, we're able to provide content provider or content producers, freedom-oriented producers, our skill set with our apprentice pool and the business model that we've created to really be able to put energy behind endeavors that we see as beneficial to the wider community, to the whole world, really, to get people's messages out that have a big benefit to freedom and to the principles of freedom. And so not only can we do different service offerings for standard clients and people that are able to take advantage of Autonomy Unlimited skill set as a marketing agency, but in ethical marketing and ethical sales, which we've strived hard to implement there. We'll talk more about that in the future. I think that's a lot at once with the different things that I've brought up today. But again, this is something that I want to get more into and bring more interesting people on live to be able to practice our skills of producing live, to get into sharing this with other people as well, like how to produce yourself, how to publish yourself, as how to become the true media, or even Autonomy, the course, helps you do, is like find that inner voice, or find like Benny Will's Parrhesia course. It's all about speaking freely. And Parrhesia, it's a word that means to be able to speak from the top of one's head, and in a truthful way, but also in a way that other people find appealing, and that other people can pick up on the fact that you're speaking from a place of wisdom, or a place of knowing more than just, Parrhesia in the negative connotation, which would be like someone who's just a blabbering idiot, right? Just going off and just blabbering, blab, blab, blab. But rather like the ability to do this, to come on live and take a live stream with some content that's not exactly related, and weave it together and produce off the top of my head something that's not scripted, that I don't have written out here what I'm going to read, and there's mistakes, and there's times when I'm not coming off mute, and I got to double check and make sure that I'm not muted, because I don't have a whole production staff, and nor do I really want one. I want to be able to teach people how to do this. And part of what I've been building to do that is a free offering of a lot of training series on my own sort of how to become the true media, or what I call Within the Stones Media Network, and From Within Broadcasting. So that's something that I'll be offering to my audience and to the community, is the ability to do this kind of thing, to publish yourself, to produce your own content, to edit your own content, to create, and the graphical components, and how to actually get on and properly publish something. And so part of that journey would be me taking my, success as a content producer and really kind of putting my money where the mouth is, and trying to up my game as a content producer to prove in my own way that I, have these skills and ability to publish my voice and get my thoughts out there into the world. And that's a big part of what people need to be doing to stop the ever-increasing and ever-growing police state, or tyrannical government, or the one world government, basically to stopping this whole loss of human freedom that we see happening all around us. There's a lot of talk about health, and a lot of talk about safety, and a lot of concern about people dying. But what you don't hear in the headlines a lot of is the concern for our liberty, or our freedom being taken away from us. The media is clearly on an agenda to have this thing go out as long as they need to, and they've been planning it with Event 201. You can go and pull up documents on the World Economic Forum that we opened up with, and how Bill Gates and the World Economic Forum have been planning and researching this type of stuff. Let's see. So the Event 201 exercise, we'll go full screen and zoom this in a little bit so you can see what I'm pointing at here. was a 3.5 pandemic tabletop exercise that simulated a series of traumatic scenarios based on fallacious discussions confronting difficult, true-to-life dilemmas associated with response to a hypothetical but scientifically plausible pandemic. 15 global business, government, and health leaders were players in the simulation exercise that highlighted unresolved real-world policy and economic issues that could be solved with sufficient political will, financial investment, and attention now and in the future. And as you can see, that was the World Economic Forum, Bill and Melinda Gates. They were cohorts, or they were jointly backing this operation. And here are some of the other players. Looks like some of the people that were involved. Those people actually look like some of the actors that were in the movie. And again, the World Economic Forum, planning and preparing for the pandemic long before it started with Bill and Melinda Gates. So it's almost like they need it to keep happening, right? So whatever their propaganda is that they're putting out now is because they've been planning, and they're very economically interested in the outcome of this thing and getting their vaccines out into the world to fix the problem, right? And it's a lot more than that, but you know, if you've not heard about Event 201, I mean, it's time to go check into these things, and you're not gonna, you know, find out about it on Snopes.com. We need to read more about what the World Economic Forum is about and where their funding comes from and what, you know, what they're all about. Looking ahead here, just seeing what we have up to share. So that being said, let's just jump into something else here that has to do with autonomy and Autonomy Unlimited, and that is the company Content Safe. And Content Safe, what they do, and they're in partnership now with Autonomy Unlimited, they take people's content and keep monitoring it on, let's say, like a site like YouTube, where there's a high potential for them to get banned or deplatformed or demonetized or things like that. And they can immediately make that content re-available somewhere else on that platform, and also constantly backing up and monitoring and duplicating that work off to all the other alternative video hosting platforms for the content producer. And through Autonomy Unlimited, this partnership can really take the limits off your content. So Autonomy Unlimited has proudly joined forces with Content Safe. This unique partnership allows us to provide you with a one-stop solution to getting your video content online and making sure it stays there. And again, if you're a content producer out there and you're worried about or having problems with publishing or becoming shadow banned or deplatformed and things like that, you can set up a meeting using the Calendly link in the tylerbloyer.com show notes, and that'll get you directed into having a discussion about keeping your content safe with Content Safe and Autonomy Unlimited. Alright, so that being said, this has been a wonderful tylerbloyer.com live stream, and we'll have more of these to come in the future, a more cleaned up interface as I kind of make things more fine-tuned and honed in. But yeah, I mean, the censorship that we're facing can be mitigated, and there's things like we talked about today, like the ISE media site from Ben Swan, or BitChute, or Library, and these alternative platforms that you can get published on, or go find your content that you're looking for on. And really, you know, all the censorship that they're trying to do is only on their main search engines or their particular platforms like Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or Amazon even, right? And we're in a transition, and with their great reset, we're in a great transition of making the quote-unquote dark web more accessible and more available and more understood by the people that want to seek the information out. Because it's not really about the facts and the facts not being available to certain people about, let's say, like vaccines or something like that, and like it's not like they just need to go watch the Plandemic and they're going to know everything they need to know. there's plenty of information out there. It's more of a willpower thing and your ability to seek out that information and consume it. It's plenty readily available for people to go look through information about certain topics that are definitely trying to be heavily censored right now. But that being said, there's also a greater use and a wider understanding happening of how to find alternative media. Part of the show today was just to cover some of those ways for people that maybe haven't seen just some of those basic tools that I showed. And I think in the future we could have sort of a workflow or technical discussion on all the different ways to sort of combat or fight against or get around censorship and things like that, so it's not an issue, including like ways to stay monetized or other things like that. So really just wanted to get on here, share a couple things out today, and I think I'll end with a clip here, and I'll probably just end the show after that. But this is a really good content producer over the years that I've used back even in like the Creature of Control days, and I like some of the content that he's been putting out recently, and I shared this on my Facebook page in Slavery. His name is Stefan, and his last name is, I'm trying to pull it up so I don't totally, Verstappen, Stefan Verstappen. And rather than me give too much away with the video, let's just go into that. But again, you can follow up with these posts. They'll be published on tylerbloyer.com, and the show notes and resources will be within there. And then subscribe for updates, and follow up with the 19 skills document if you want to get your hands on what's going on in autonomy, and a free, powerful PDF book that allows you to find out what the 19 skills are essential to success that you were not taught in school. But anyways, that being said, guys, hope you all have a wonderful weekend. It was great hanging out with you here, and sorry about the Zoom for any of those that were trying to join the Zoom. But next week I'll plan it. If anybody wants to get on with me next week and do this on Sunday morning, I'll try to get started a little bit earlier next week. But anyways, peace out, guys. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.
Know your enemy. Beat the grass to startle the snake. Agitate him and ascertain the pattern of his movements. Determine his disposition and so ascertain the field of battle. Probe him and learn where his strength is abundant and where deficient. From the book, The 36 Strategies of Ancient China. The internet has been a double-edged sword for the elite psychopathic banking class. On the one hand, they are able to track and surveil and manipulate billions of people. But the downside has been that information previously inaccessible to most people was now readily available. Never before in history have so many people awakened to the evil machinations of the Federal Reserve and the central banks, the phony money, the phony wars, the phony history, the phony science, the phony medicine, the phony education, and the fake media. After 200 years of being ruthlessly exploited, the slaves were starting to get wise. We saw England vote to leave their masters in the EU. We saw the Yellow Vest protests in France trying to rid their country of the toxic psychopath called Macron. Millions in Hong Kong protesting against the most evil empire in the world today. Everywhere there were calls for separation from the communist state controls. And worst of all, their straw man puppet they thought would be laughed off the stage was wildly popular among the serfs, showing that many people, too many people, still held wholesome values. Then somewhere in the deepest bowels of hell, among the discarded bodies of hundreds of missing children, came a command.
Shut it down! Shut it down forever!
And with that, the dark legions of goblins, ghouls, and trolls spread throughout the world to shut down free speech. Shadow ban, cancel, demonetize, deplatform, dox, and ban them. Ban them all was the communists' battle cry. And so, a state censorship program that not even Stalin could dream of was imposed on the people. Then they rolled out their big guns. First was a total martial law lockdown under the guise of a bogus plague. You can't go out, you can't run your small business, you can't go to school, you can't go out for dinner, you can't get together in groups, you can't go to the beach or walk your dog in the park, and you can't visit your dying mother in the hospital. The elite were so pleased with the results that there was a spike of missing children as the bankers and their minions celebrated their victory. Then came the follow-up attack, unleashing the weaponized idiots. Thanks to over 100 years of public education and the welfare state, there now exist on this planet more low IQ morons than have ever lived on this planet in all of history. This army of literal zombies ran amok, looting and burning like lunatics. I think the enemy rolled out all their dirty tricks too soon. They probably would have liked to boil the frog a little longer, but the growing threat of more and more people waking up forced their hand and startled the snake. But now we can better see the enemy before us. First, know that every country in the world that implemented social distancing is under the control of the loan shark cabal. Every congressman, senator, governor, member of parliament, mayor, even down to town councilors have either been indoctrinated, pressured, or paid off. We saw how the police were ordered to stand down during the riots, arsons, and tearing down of statues, but were quick to arrest ordinary citizens for not wearing a mask. The police are not on our side. The media, as if it's not obvious by now, is the enemy. They always have been. There never was a golden age of journalism. So now we know our enemy, the bankers, the media, and practically every government in the world. We are vastly outnumbered and outgunned. There is zero chance that an armed rebellion or political party or protest or election would change a damn thing. According to Sun Tzu, there are only two strategies left to us now: escape and evade, and guerrilla warfare. You can either head for the hills, go offline, and hope they don't find you. Or you go guerrilla, outwardly a loyal party member, while secretly organizing a militia, establishing safe houses, creating black markets, engaging in smuggling and assassinations, and sabotaging the enemy at every turn. Of the two strategies, Sun Tzu had this to say: while a smaller force can escape a larger force for some time, if the larger force is persistent, the smaller force will always be captured in the end.